Hello there, and welcome back to episode 11 of Midnight Movie Reviews. This week we have a really exciting one for you guys. Me and the guys, we watched arguably one of the greatest trilogies ever to come to the theaters and film. And this week we have a guest. His name is Jonah. He's a really good friend of ours, and he loves these movies just as much as we do, and hopefully as much as you do. So, Jonah, just give me your general opinions about films, what genres you like, what types of movies you like to watch, and stuff you don't like to watch.
So I'm definitely into the big Star Wars stuff. That's my favorite genre of movies, and the sci-fi type ordeals.
Mm-hmm.
I've been going to movies ever since I was a little kid, so they have a big part of my life.
Very nice.
And the type of movies that I don't seem to like too much are super shoot 'em up movies or horror movies are probably my.
So if I put The Expendables in front of you, you would gouge your eyes out and just want to leave that theater.
I would just
just die. Okay, so
GG's.
It's fun. So I don't actually have a summary prepared written down because I already know these films well enough, and I hope all of you do too. It's kind of for me at least, it's a no-brainer. I know what I'm saying this time. So the Star Wars prequels takes place over roughly about 20-ish years, and it tells the story of Anakin Skywalker and how he turns from light to dark. It's a very big adventure with very fun and very annoying characters, and I'm gonna leave it at that because that's really the whole thing. And I'm gonna let Adam take it away.
Alright, guys,
it's really funny, Adam, because the ASMR is so quiet. Discord can't pick it up.
It's cutting out.
Yeah. Try the ASMR one more time for comedic purposes, but louder.
Alright, guys, it's time for the ASMR. First, we're gonna need a general opinion from everybody. Who'd like to go first?
Why doesn't Nick go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna go first. Okay. General opinion, Star Wars, it's one of, if not my favorite, film franchise of them all. So yeah. I've got lots of good things to say about the prequels. The lightsaber fights, best in any Star Wars movie. I really enjoy the plot because obviously these are prequels. They were made after the original ones. So it's good to they built on the story of Anakin. I think they did it in a really good way. So without getting too into it, yeah, they're one of my favorite trilogy of movies. Luke, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, so this was actually my first time watching the prequels. I've basically before this only seen the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
But looking back on it, I really wish that I had watched this trilogy before I'd even seen the original ones, because it just makes the whole story of Star Wars just flow so well. And I really enjoyed the plot in this movie, like you said. Acting was fairly strong across the board. Maybe a little bit weaker in the first one of the trilogy. I don't exactly remember the name.
Phantom Menace,
that was it. But also the Revenge of the Sith. I thought that had a really impressive visuals.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of blew me away.
Especially for
a
movie that's 15 years old. Pretty impressive for an 05 movie.
Early 2000s,
Definitely. Mm-hmm. But I was really impressed overall by this trilogy.
I think I can go ahead. I love everything about this trilogy, and a lot of the criticisms of the original trilogy, poor acting on behalf of Hayden Christensen, I actually see as a pro, if that makes sense, because Anakin was supposed to be socially awkward. He was raised by a Jedi samurai.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
wasn't accustomed to that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So I feel like a lot of the criticisms of the prequels to me are actually pros.
They're just
And
like
I
they're just like misunderstood.
yeah,
People,
exactly.
Yeah.
people. I mean, obviously, no one can fully understand all of Star Wars lore. There's just so much to it, and I mean, like that kind of plays into like why I really like this because it expanded on the first three movies. So that being New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, and I thought that this did a spectacular job at showing what the Jedi were like and what the Jedi had become, and you know, it was just honestly. I think, in my opinion, these three kind of outshine the original trilogy in some aspects.
For sure.
But you know, there's always like that nostalgic of watching the original trilogy. But there's also nostalgia watching this one, and I mean, I really enjoyed it. And my least favorite one in this trilogy was not like I hated it, right? It's just like I would rate it the
It's
word,
still
you know.
great.
Yeah.
It's just not as good as the other ones, which were amazing.
Yeah. Adam, what do you think, my dude?
Yeah, so the prequel trilogy, I think, had it was an amazing idea. The plot is almost perfect, in my opinion. There's very little criticism I have there, but I think that actual production, as far as like writing, and I mostly agree with you guys on acting, but maybe a little bit. I think that's where it definitely falls apart a bit, and I think that's the reason why there are a lot of prequel haters. But overall, the story is definitely there. So I'm gonna say that these movies are awesome because they really are. They just add another layer of just perfection to the original Star Wars movies, which were already amazing.
Now, is that perfection as like a nerdy perfection, or that just like it's like another step in the Star Wars direction?
A bit of both,
Mm.
I think.
I mean, obviously, the nerdy bits happen when epic lightsaber duels intensifies happens.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but also like thematically and stuff, it just adds so much more to the original trilogy.
Yeah.
More layers.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree. All right, Adam, why don't you move it on then?
All right, so now we're gonna go to characters and acting. I guess I'll go first here. I think the character of Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader is one of the best ever. Definitely one of the most recognizable characters ever. But I feel like where Darth Vader from the original trilogy had become like a pop culture icon, this was really his story. He was growing up. We saw him we saw all the important points in his life.
Yeah.
And this was really just a story about him, and it was great. And the change from Jedi Anakin to Sith Anakin was just amazing. It was done exceptionally well, and I think it was just a great character. My only issues are, I feel like with Anakin's character, there are a lot of other characters that kind of react to him in an unrealistic or stupid way. Like Padme, it's
Oh,
like,
no, don't hurt my
like,
queen, dude.
I killed the women and the children, and she's like, oh, hot. So it's like, I just, it's not necessarily always realistic.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Isaac was here, he'd probably even go as far as say it's campy. But it's, I mean, overall, it's done pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, I feel like in these three movies has definitely been solidified as my favorite Star Wars character ever. He's just awesome. He's the best.
Yeah.
And
For sure. Yeah.
For sure.
yeah, that's. Oh, one more thing.
Mhm.
One more thing. I think a crucial flaw of at least the first two movies where he was a little bit more prominent is Jar Jar Binks.
No, wait, whoa. No. I need Jonah to actually talk about Jar
Everybody
Jar.
has mixed feelings.
No, I
about
need
him.
Jonah to talk about like arguably one of the best characters in the entire Star Wars franchise. It's Jar. No,
Okay,
Jonah has to speak
you
on
need
the
to hear what I'm gonna say. I'm not
greatness
gonna
of
say
Jar
what you
Jar.
think
Let
I'm gonna
Adam
say. I'm
talk.
gonna say what
Come on.
Wait. So Jar Jar Binks, you know, we know he had a purpose, but we know that purpose was taken from him. So I feel like he's kind of a useless character. It would have been much better if Jar Jar Binks had become Sith Jar Jar Binks like he was intended to.
No.
I mean, it's kind of just he's just a pointless character.
He's
Otherwise-
also kind of annoying too.
Have you been
in my
reading too
opinion.
many
I'm going
Darth
to
Jar Jar
refrain-
fanfics?
Jar Jar fanfic.
So
No, but
I'm
like
gonna
it's actually
refrain
real.
from
It's actually real.
from dogpiling onto this because I feel like I could go for probably 2 hours about Darth Jar Jar. But
Why don't you tell us about your favorite, or like, I mean, I know probably one of the main three are your characters. Why don't you talk about like another one that we haven't mentioned yet, and what you think about him that you still think is prominent?
so adding on to Adam's point, I think a lot of the women in Star Wars have an issue with the whole like liking serial killer things,
Mm-hmm.
like Rey and Ben Solo or Kylo Ren, however you want to
Who?
see that.
Excuse me, who?
What's a Ray? I don't really pay attention. Is that a Battlestar Galactica character?
Oh, okay, we're doing this, and I actually 100% agree with it.
Totally.
So, the female protagonist from the latest Star Wars TV shows,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not real movies.
Yeah.
And the main male antagonist, they all kind of like have this issue. It's just kind of a funny thing to note, not any like real importance to it. It's just humorous. But I think my favorite part of the movies, as far as characters go, is I think just the role of Ewan McDermott as Chancellor Palpatine
Oh,
is just
definitely,
so perfectly done.
definitely.
Oh
He's
yeah.
really well
So
done.
perfectly
Yes.
done. I mean,
Yeah, very good.
there's if I could think like, oh, well, I mean, this part could have been done. No, there just isn't.
He just
he's
because he
got
just
such
knew
a
the
good-
role so well. He's like literally built for the role. He woke up one day and he's like, I am the Emperor. That's the real
Yeah, no,
happened.
it's like perfect because he drops like little hints to Anakin, like when he's talking about Darth Plagueis or
Yeah.
whatever. And then it's like, how do you know this? And then he just reveals that he's a Sith. And then now he's just like completely different. I mean, because like if we've seen the movie before, you know that like that the Chancellor is actually like the Sith Lord. So you kind of go into
Kind
it
of
knowing
common
it,
sense
but
to
like
know that.
yeah, but if you don't go into it knowing that, it's like crazy like to like think about. It's like super well done.
Yeah. I mean, like, I
Yeah,
just want to know, like, what. There has to be someone who's never watched any of the Star Wars movie and they watch it in the right order. You know what I mean? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instead of 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Right? And they
Yeah.
watch it in the right order and they maybe watch all the Star Wars story movies and the TV shows. Then, I mean, that would be a whole nother experience because, like, I feel like honestly, the original trilogy ruins the first 3 movies because you know what's gonna happen.
Exactly.
It kind of ruins the fun of it.
You just because you're kind of like receiving the backstory after you know like the main stuff.
So I guess the
Yeah, I
movie
mean,
just Godfather Part 2'd itself. Or all this whole trilogy.
I have not seen
Yeah.
that.
I
Don't
mean,
spoil anything.
The only reason I'd say you should watch the original trilogy first, which I still agree with you, but should be considered, is that like the whole reveal of Darth Vader being Luke's father isn't, it doesn't really have any impact. You already know.
That's true.
Yeah.
I do feel like the benefits of watching the prequels first vastly outweigh just that.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Jonah, what
I-
were... Oh, look, continue.
yeah, watching the original trilogy a couple years back, I mean, I saw Darth Vader as just like your average, just bad guy, and because I didn't know his background at all, he's just this big guy in a mask, and I mean, watching the prequels, it just you got to see his whole life story, and it was really great. I think it was well done. All of the characters, I think, I mean, acting was fairly strong. I mean, across the board. I know I've said that before, but they all kind of revolve around Anakin's story, and I mean, yeah, I really like this.
I know this question might not necessarily be on the script, so we can cut this out if we want.
No. We encourage it.
Go ahead.
That's
Go
fine.
ahead.
Yeah, we can go off topic.
It's definitely okay.
So while we're going on about like Anakin Skywalker and like Darth Vader, we had the recent passing of David Prost, who was the man behind the mask in the original trilogy, not just the voice.
How recent was that?
And about a month.
Oh.
Really?
Yes. So
Damn.
it's often regarded as one of the strongest physical performances in history.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you guys say? How do you think Hayden Christensen, as the short time that he was Darth Vader without a mask, how do you think that like physical performance that he put on, how do you think that compares?
Well, I mean, like, you can tell because, like, the thing is, Anakin's already, when he, well, I would say, like, obviously, like, when Anakin becomes Darth Vader, like, physically, when he gets all his limbs chopped off, it should be the same because technically he's still all robot. He's pretty much robot now, and he's, all lumpy and big and stuff. But I feel like, David Prowse, the way that they choreographed his character in the original trilogy was more of to be like very precise and very accurate, which Anakin most of the time was when he was younger, but obviously everyone's fight style develops as they get older. So I feel like that's how they kind of try to pay tribute to it. He's like he's more of a master with the saber later in the trilogy than he was in the prequel trilogy. If that's kind of what you're going for, Jonah.
Yeah. Also, like when he like becomes Darth Vader, when he finally gets the gets his like mask on, he like shows like kind of a lot of emotion in his voice. Like you can hear it. It sounds completely different than like when he's just Darth Vader in like the original trilogies. And it's like we get to see like how he like transitions, obviously, but like we hear him like emotionally like change a little bit to like be less like emotional, because yeah,
I mean, this at the end of the prequels, I mean, this was right after the death of Padme, who he loved for like 20 years or whatever, and
yeah,
I mean, you can't really blame him for having that much emotion, but then of course you just kind of move on, and after a while.
Yeah.
So going back to the general like acting and characters, because like I didn't get to say something on that yet. I mean, like Adam said before, Obi-Wan and Anakin were obviously like one of like the best in there because they're just like such a good partnership, and it's so interesting to see how their relationship develops. And then if you watch the original trilogy, like I've been talking about, you'll see it go further and then completely end right away, because he dies. Spoiler alert? Question mark? Probably not. But I would say that another character that I really liked was Mace Windu. I just feel like Samuel L. Jackson. He is an amazing actor, and he does a very good job at the characters he plays. And I also love how he convinced George Lucas to get him a purple lightsaber, and how it says,
that's like my favorite video on all of YouTube.
Yeah, I would agree. Also, and I mean, like, but woo, Natalie Portman. She's very pretty. I mean, like her character, some of her I'd say like 75% of her lines were pretty cringe.
YouTube for legal reasons, we're all underage.
Oh yeah, we are all underage. I think Natalie Portman is a very beautiful lady. She's very pretty. This we can all agree upon. However, her performance in this, it was shoddy. It was good at times and it wasn't good at times. But that was true for a lot of characters.
Wait, she has speaking roles? I did not notice this.
What? Oh my god. Yeah. But yeah, I just feel like some of her times where she's like, Anakin, you're breaking my heart. Like, that's like so weird. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes like when I watch the
Yeah.
prequels, I'll literally skip right over her lines because it's just like or just like her and Anakin talking, because it just really makes me cringe, honestly.
Yeah, it's a little
Yeah,
bit
it's-
cliche at times and like cheesy / campy, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and
I mean,
that also goes for like all the a lot of characters too, like the droids. I get they're supposed to be funny, but like
What?
they just overdo the droid, no, like the battle droids.
I don't.
Really?
That's more in the Clone
I don't-
Wars.
I don't-
Yeah, you're
I don't-
talking more Clone Wars rather than the actual prequels. I actually
Yeah.
feel like the prequels droids are good.
Yeah.
I like
Although the one thing I
droids,
do have to
but
say
I don't know.
is like things programmed as like clones versus droids than being programmed. The clones are just like so much more successful. Doesn't seem super logical to me, but
Yeah.
not to
I
say
get what
it's
you mean. I
not.
get what you mean.
That's
Okay.
just a small little note.
Yeah. Has everyone said something? Luke, did you say something on the characters?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I'd like to speak more.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Ooh, okay.
So first, I want to praise Liam Neeson for being amazing at being Qui-Gon Jinn, and
Mhm.
I hope that his wish is granted and he returns in the Obi-Wan Kenobi upcoming series.
Ooh,
Because
that would be
he's
good. Yes.
I think that his character especially was, really deep in the Phantom Menace, because he was like, the OG Jedi. He was like, has empathy, and he's like a good guy. Well, the Jedi are
Mhm.
becoming more political, and he's just staying true to the values. I think that was pretty cool. But
Yeah, I think. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
overall, very underappreciated character. I
Yeah,
think
he
that-
was.
You go on, Luke.
He was actually probably the character I most enjoyed in the Phantom Menace. That's all I wanted to say.
To be
But
completely fair, I think he has like 90% of the talking lines in the Phantom Menace, or like some
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
insane number like
you
that.
guys
You're
cut
kinda
out.
right,
Who
but-
who had the most talking? Obi-Wan?
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon. Okay, Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon.
I think there's a number. I think it's somewhere in the 70s of how much what percent of like the roles of the speaking roles are Qui-Gon Jinn, which is just kind of insane when you think about it. One character, unless the movie's like The Life of Pi or something, where it only
Yeah.
is one character.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I mean, but like that was kind of the whole point of the first movie. Like the first movie was the relationship between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and how it like developed to accommodate Anakin after Qui-Gon dies, right? And how
Mhm.
Obi-Wan has to take the mantle of being what Qui-Gon was, and how Obi-Wan had to pretty much be him, but not being, a Jedi Master yet, which was. But like in Star Wars universe, right? Jedi Knights have Padawans all the time, right? So it's nothing crazy.
Yeah.
hmm Okay,
Yeah.
Adam, why don't you get us moving on then?
All right. So next question, we're going to talk about dialogue, which we've already talked about quite a bit, but I'll start here. So it can be pretty cringe, but it also can
I don't
be,
like sand.
I don't like
Correct.
it also can be pretty good. But I
There's
think
just
for
so
the
many
sake,
iconic lines. Yeah.
There's so many iconic lines, and then there's also so many iconic lines that are iconic because they're bad. I mean,
Yes.
that's just the truth. It doesn't matter how much you like the prequels. This is probably the worst part of the prequels, is the dialogue.
definitely.
Mhm.
I think
But
that,
I think that's fair.
yeah, I think writing, and just like bringing George Lucas, who is an absolute genius, bringing his ideas to the screen is really where the prequels fail. Maybe even the original trilogy could have benefited from maybe a few people to just sort of edit the scripts and just make them better. There are a ton of very good lines, and there are also a ton of very memey lines that have become very good because they've been memed so hard. But I think overall, that kind of detracts from the situation quite a bit. If there was some better lines, these movies could be even better, and that's saying something, because they're pretty awesome movies.
I mean, yeah, I would agree with that, because like I would say the majority of like Obi-Wan Kenobi's lines are very well delivered by Ewan McGregor, and that's what makes
Of course.
even if they're written and they sound cringe on paper, he doesn't deliver them in any cringy way. I feel like the most cringe-worthy, and more like kind of like why is it even there dialogue is mostly filler stuff. So like something that I like to think about is at the beginning of Attack of the Clones where they literally right in the beginning where they make the safe landing and who's with Padme? I forget his name. Someone fill me in. Whatever. The guy who was with Padme when they're landing, he's like, wow, that was a safe landing. Like that was delivered.
Oh,
It sounded
Captain
so.
Panaka.
Oh yeah, Captain Panaka. And I was like, that just sounded really, really like, it just sounded forced.
It's definitely forced.
Yeah, you have to have it, but like,
Yeah, I mean, just
you,
it could have been bad on the actor themselves because I feel like all this dialogue, if it was maybe delivered differently by the actors, it would have sounded better or worse, depending on how it was delivered. But what we got, like stuff like Natalie Portman's performance, it was just spotty at times. But it's made up through her beautiful self.
Of course.
Of course.
But I wanted to speak a little bit on so in the last kind of segment of the Phantom Menace, one of the last couple scenes where you have Anakin, like little 9-year-old Anakin, and he's flying one of the ships. I think. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's
Yeah,
kind
the
of
Naboo starfighter.
Yes.
That's what I call pod racing.
Yeah. And
yeah.
I feel like
Now
his
this-
dialogue there felt like extremely forced. Like it was like, wow, that was a close
Please.
call.
Yeah, I would
You
also.
can't
I
really
don't-
hate on him too much
No,
because I mean
no.
he
He's
is
9
a
years
kid.
old. He's 9 years
No,
old.
no,
Yeah,
I'm not
exactly.
hating.
Phantom Menace ruined this kid's life.
Hey,
I like how
I'm
Luke had
also-
like one line and we all just dogpiled onto him, bro. That was
Yeah.
such a
I
bad
want to keep
line.
speaking on this. It's not at all his fault. I think it's a bit of the fault of the writers. I feel like that scene would have hit harder and would have been a lot better if he didn't really say anything at all. I mean, it just made the scene seem like super cheesy. It was like, I don't know.
I would probably argue that no dialogue would have been worse than any dialogue. I think that's kind of the thing that you can't.
Not exactly no dialogue, but just a little.
I think his
dialogue.
I didn't
situation
really mind
is.
it. It's just like him reacting to what's happening around him, but like, yeah, it may have been better, but like, it was fine. I didn't really think it was that bad.
It's like imagine if you almost get hit by a train and then you're like, wow, I almost got hit by a train. That was a really close call.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
It's kind of
there.
like that.
It's like it doesn't need to be there. They could have wrote it. I feel like I agree with Jonah that they shouldn't have just made it where there's no dialogue. It should have just been written differently. I feel like that would have
Yes.
been way more beneficial, and maybe they could have tried to gauge how I don't even remember what his name is. Guy who plays Anakin, young.
Hayden Christensen.
No, young.
Jake Lloyd.
Young.
Jake Lloyd, yeah, Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd.
And I was like, they could have gauged how this kid acted a bit better, and like knew how he delivered his lines to make it suit him more. That's
Yeah, like you don't have to have him narrate what's happening for us to like
Voiceover by
Enjoy
Crown
it.
Adult.
I mean, yeah, for us to enjoy it, you don't have to have him stating the obvious. Basically, I mean, more like subtle lines. Like I don't know the right word for that, but yeah, definitely, it's not his fault. I think a better script during that scene would have done it some good.
Yeah.
So, where I think the prequels diverge from the originals is there's a lot less visual storytelling in the prequels. It's all dialogue. Like, there are a few lines between Darth Maul and Darth Sidious, as well as like Qui-Gon Jinn and some other high-ranking Jedi in the Phantom Menace, that convey very important plot information that it's kind of like hard to really enjoy the movie without. And like if like I feel like they could have told a lot of the story a lot better. In the originals, there is a lot more visual storytelling, but here it depends on the dialogue a lot, and that just doesn't really work out.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you because I think I think a prime example of our English teachers will love me for this, showing not telling examples in the original
Mhm.
trilogy
Yeah.
is, I just think right away, scene 1 of Empire Strikes Back, the Hoth Tauntaun scene. And it's not a super important plot point per se, but I think Luke Skywalker has like, what, 2 lines that entire time? And it's still like a
It tells a
reasonably
story.
powerful scene. Yeah, it tells a good
Yeah.
story.
But like the thing
I think
is,
that's like right where the prequels drop off.
but like the
Or
thing is,
to-
I was thinking because like, well, the prequels have like like it's like because obviously George Lucas is like, well, I have all this technology I can use, and I might as well just put it to good use, which he did.
Oh,
But
yeah,
the problem
Battle
is,
of
For
Naboo
sure.
just looks-
but then that means there's so much stuff that it's hard to, you can't show things with 2 lines of dialogue and hope that it explains like a planet made of an entire city, Coruscant, right? So it's
Yeah.
just really difficult to do that, in my opinion. But then again,
I mean,
we've watched movies
yeah.
like Blade Runner where I don't think any of the dialogue there was that awful, but you know, it explained a very big city-like world and a big futuristic-like world pretty well. So, you know, I feel like the majority of the time was spent making it look cool than it was actually making, the dialogue sound like as perfect as could be.
I think one word to sum up the prequels would probably be ambitious.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think at the very least, visually is that. Because you look at the start of the Battle of Naboo, it just doesn't. It looks like you just jumped to a Pixar world. It doesn't even look real anymore.
Okay. Well, this was new technology, and like I was like reading an article 3 years ago about like how people actually like the reception of Phantom Menace at the time, and people were saying like the CGI and all of that was like revolutionary. It was like the best part of the movie. It was so cool. I think that we're really biased on that end because we're living 20 years later. I think that at the time it looked pretty good.
And you can
Yeah,
say the
'cause I
same
think as
thing
much
for like,
as
or you can say the same thing for like the original trilogy. I was literally just like watching a bit of A New Hope just like an hour or so ago, and like the laser blasts, like they look nothing like they would in like the prequels or any of the new movies, but like I guess it's kind of the same thing with like the prequels. It was revolutionary for its time, so I guess we can't really fault them there because they didn't really have the technology we have like today.
Yeah.
yeah, and I have to say, as much as like this group kind of hates on the sequels, which I don't think is
As
necessarily
much as
undeserved.
everyone with a brain hates on the sequels.
As I was saying, as our group hates on the sequels, but visually, those movies are insane. I mean, there's just no denying it.
That's true.
Well,
but the thing is,
true.
visuals can't save
Yeah.
a movie.
Visually,
I understand. That's not necessarily
Visually,
what I'm
those
arguing.
movies
But
are
what I'm arguing is that
they're not
we
good.
look
Like,
at those
they're not-
movies and then we
Okay.
look at
Oh my gosh, Adam, please.
So listen. Visually, the sequels, they are up to par. They are adequate. They're not
For
like
sure.
amazing. Interstellar. That's amazing.
Yes.
But the thing is,
You
but
can't
Adam,
do
but the thing is, like, the Interstellar had actual physicists and stuff helping them
Exactly.
make stuff look as real as as
What do you-
theoretically real as it could be.
guys. Anyone listening to this on YouTube, save me from the Interstellar fanboys. Okay, so back to what I was saying is like the sequels visuals are just so good that you rewatch the prequels and you're like, what? I could probably whip something up better in 2 minutes in Microsoft
Well,
Paint, and that doesn't have 3D.
But I mean,
render.
that's a given because
You could.
Even
Yeah,
though
no,
that-
I'm saying that's a given. So I think you can't be too necessarily critical on them.
yeah.
Exactly. It was good for its time, like really good for its time. Yeah.
And I was like watching those, there's this YouTube channel called Corridor Digital, and they have this segment where they like to talk about like VFX in movies, and they did this whole episode on the prequels. and I was like, wow, like they were praising it because they're saying like this is like stuff we do now pretty much. I mean, obviously we can do it a bit quicker and probably a bit more higher resolution and stuff, but what they did was still really good. So, I mean, especially for late 90s, early thousands. But, you know, that's what it's at.
Yeah,
So-
I mean,
Yeah, go on, Luke.
although the prequels, they may not have been the most visually stunning of like Star Wars movies in general. I mean, I think that I still really enjoyed the visuals. I mean, especially in Revenge of the Sith, like I said before, the introduction, like the first opening scene of Revenge of the Sith was just amazing in my opinion.
This is
Oh
really
yeah, the
fun.
battle
because
over Coruscant. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
Another
great.
happy landing. How did
Yeah.
this happen? We're smarter than this. I'm just quoting
okay,
out
guys,
memes.
guys, okay, so we need a 5-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith. Like, there's already
It exists.
so there is
There's a 14-hour cut.
somewhere out there
What?
in the archives
Yeah.
somewhere, actual
Where do I
4-hour
see that?
Sith. Then
I honestly I can pull it up for
You
you.
go on a
tomorrow.
website, pornhub.com, and you can find it there.
You guys have less than 100 viewers and we just got demonetized.
Damn
Okay.
it.
So,
Yeah.
Nice.
no, you can probably cut this part out. There's the 14-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith that puts every single Clone Wars episode in order.
Seriously?
wouldn't
Yes.
I need to watch that.
be an Attack of the
Well, I
Clones?
mean, Revenge of the Sith
Oh
only
yeah,
really
Attack of the
happens in
Clones
season.
and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah,
Oh.
I was about to be like, because only season 7 of the Clone Wars takes place during the events of whatchamacallit.
Yeah, I misspoke on that.
Yeah, but yeah, I get it. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's really cool. I've seen like highlights from it, like the transitions. Number one highlight for sure is the switches between the final episodes of the Clone Wars and Coruscant throne room scene where Anakin becomes Darth Vader
Oh
and
yeah.
like Ahsoka's visions, and it's just so good. It's just good.
Yeah, it's probably
Yeah,
a
yeah.
project in and of itself, obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
If we can hit 10K likes on this video, we will do a review of that 14-hour cut.
No.
Yes.
Yes,
We hit
that'd be fun.
10K likes, I will buy a new microphone.
Oh,
Yeah,
bet.
Wow.
that's probably what's gonna be
Ambitious.
first.
I will buy a
buy a new
microphone.
microphone for Luke.
Yeah.
I will
Dude, I
buy a
literally,
Make
like,
sure you
just got
microphone.
one.
smash that like button.
Smash it like a button. Okay, but no, we don't beg for likes here. But anyways, guys, we're straying a little bit off topic, and I'm just gonna ask
I
Adam.
beg for likes here.
There is no off topic with Star Wars.
There is no off topic.
Oh,
But
So I mean, guys, at 1 hour 42 minutes and 35 seconds of the Attack of the Clones, what did you guys think of that part?
that was an amazing
No, but I'm just kidding.
What?
I mean, like, but like, I just want to
Isn't
be
that
like,
the start of the Battle of Geonosis?
perhaps it could be. I don't know. But I mean, like, what did you guys think of the, like, do you know, how, you know, that obviously you guys do know that between the second and the third movie of it, the show, The Clone Wars, right? This is a given.
Yes.
We obviously know that. Do you think that the Clone Wars explains that entire gap perfectly? Do you think it does?
Yes.
I think it does.
Right.
And-
Yes.
I mean, do you think while making those movies, George Lucas already knew he wanted to have a show for that, or no? Because like,
Yeah.
there's obviously
I think
some
it's
like
possible.
there are inconsistencies, like when Obi-Wan meets General Grievous in the third film, he's like, General Grievous is like, oh, you don't know I've been trained to be a Jedi, quote by Count Dooku, but obviously Obi-Wan already knows this, so that the line seems redundant because I feel like George Lucas, obviously he didn't fully have a series planned out
Yeah.
in his head, but I mean, it does it justice. I think it was.
I mean, yeah, because if you have something called the Clone Wars, it leaves like such a great like talking point, or like such a great way to make a TV series out of. Because like I think that show was really well done, and I think it's a perfect way to like give us more insight about like what happened in the Clone Wars. And yeah, Like I really
Just
like
as a little
that.
heads up for the viewers at home, we did not watch the Clone Wars specifically for this
No,
review.
we're just
This is
going
all
off.
like knowledge we
Yeah.
know. So
This is going
I
off
know
our
for a fact Luke
availability
has not seen the
heuristics.
Clone Wars, but the
Yeah,
rest
I
of
have
us
not
have.
seen the Clone.
All right, bit of a hot take here. I do enjoy the Clone Wars, but I think that it would have been much better as like a shorter, like 1 or 2 season series. Because thing is,
There's a lot of
It
filler in that
is-
show.
That's true.
it is
That's true.
nice to have like all the different Jedi and all the different clones, like, you know, actually have them do stuff instead of just like being in a second of the movie or whatever. But I feel like the only relevant stuff in the Clone Wars was stuffed into like 20, 30, maybe even 40 episodes. So maybe just like throw in a few filler type things with different Jedi and different clones, and it could have been a much more concise series, and it would have been like much better in my opinion. It's just
I'm
there's a
going
lot of
to hard, and I mean hard, disagree with this, because I actually feel like the Clone Wars could be longer. And the reason I say that is because you just talk about how it's filler content, but that's kind of the point.
I
It's
know,
talking
but I
about
mean,
the battles of the Clone Wars. That's just what it is.
I mean, like, I know, but I mean, like, they're out of that series. There's really only, I would say, like we've been saying, like 1 to 2 seasons worth of actually like really relevant episodes, and other stuff is kind of just like, oh, fun side adventure stuff, right?
yeah.
But that's kind of the point of the Clone Wars. I mean, you have to
there's
ultimately
a
remember
couple-
what's the name, the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
It
a
talks
couple
about
episodes
the
with
Clone
Padme
Wars.
and Jar Jar. I mean, that's not necessary. Thanks.
I mean, I feel
It
like
kind of like explains
I feel
their
like you'd also be
relationship more.
complaining
I
if-
don't know.
yeah,
Did they
I
ever
feel like
talk
Anakin's
about
fall to the
his, like,
dark side, and even
relationship
smaller
with
episodes, you notice it.
What, Adam? What were you saying?
Well, I mean, Nick was saying it explains their relationship, but like they never really talk in the movies, so I don't
Yeah.
feel like that needs to be explained.
I mean, they do a little bit. Like when she appoints him as like her representative in the Senate, but like
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cringe.
Maybe
Let's
a
try and get
little bit,
back
yeah.
on topic of the movies that we reviewed as opposed to.
Yeah, but
yeah.
yes.
So Adam, why don't you? I know we've kind of been bopping between like 4 or 5 questions by now, but do you want to push it along into pacing and plot structure, because I feel like that's something we really haven't gotten onto yet.
Yes, because we have talked about the visual effects. So, yeah, so pacing and plot structure, I guess we'll just put into one question, and I'll start here. So, pacing and plot structure, I feel like, is beautifully done in the prequel trilogy. I love the transitions between movies. They do that honestly perfectly to tell the full story. They have, young Anakin, then 10 years later, then like a few months, few years, something after that.
Yeah.
Just, it tells the story very well. It's great. It's great in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I did not get bored during these films. There's stuff that I'd prefer to skip, Padme Anakin conversations. That's stuff
Yeah.
I would like to skip. However, I feel as if the movies as a whole, if you watch them back to back to back, you would not see a different speed. They're all generally the same speed. They're usually like 2 hours 30 to 2 hours, around that range. And
Yeah.
they're all very well paced, and it's very clear what the story is trying to tell. There's obviously a lot of subliminal stuff that's going on, and stuff that is just hard to pick up on unless you really know Star Wars. So, but otherwise, it was very understandable. Luke, I mean, this is more of a you question. How did you feel about it watching it through the first time?
I thought the plot structure and pacing, I thought that was amazing. I was kind of amazed at, I know I said amazed twice, but like they like you said, it's just such a consistent pace. It maintains such a consistent pace throughout all 3 of the movies. And in addition, you had a pretty like solid story, a very solid story actually, without it being like super mind bending, which I sometimes like, but with Star Wars I don't really want any mind bending type stuff going on. And they made it they crafted these prequels in a way that it makes it easy for pretty much anyone to understand what's going on. Probably more so than the original trilogy, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I really liked all of these things about the prequels.
So I think for my little section of this, I'd like to discuss the Phantom Menace as far as pacing goes,
Yes.
because
Oh.
I hear Adam, because I think that's one of his favorite movies of this, because he has
Yes.
Qui-Gon Jinn. But so I've seen like funny, like, I don't know, I don't want to say memes per se, but like that's what they are, is like the Phantom Menace, but all the times that there's character development are cut out, and it's 2 hours and 17 minutes, which is exactly how long the Phantom Menace is.
Yeah.
It's saying that there was no character development, nobody changed, nobody grew as a character.
Anakin grew
And-
some hair.
Yeah.
That is true. He grew a Jedi braid, so I guess 2 hours and 16 minutes. But I still think that it serves a purpose, and I don't think it was like, oh, whoops, we just forgot to add character development. It was supposed to introduce the characters. I think it did that in a good way,
Mhm.
and I don't think it's necessarily a stellar movie, but I also don't think it deserves as much hate as it receives. But as far as the pacing of that movie goes, I think it's but it's probably the worst offender of pacing of being poor of the prequels. It just seems a little slow to me at times. But
To me, it
overall,
kind
I
of,
think all three movies do a great job of pacing. Revenge of the Sith, when you look back and think of like every individual scene in that movie, you're like, how is it that good?
How is it that? Yeah, exactly.
Despite being only like 2.5 hours.
It's
like-
definite. I think I'm going as much to say that's probably the best Star Wars movie in the franchise.
Order 66 happens like probably 75% of the way through the movie, despite it being the conclusion to the prequels. There's so much that goes on after.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And then
that's
I'd like to maybe hijack the next question once we are all done.
Alright.
If that is okay. Yes, I know.
So I was not done talking. I have more to say. So I want to take a minute to appreciate Phantom Menace, but also intensely shit on it. So the Phantom Menace it's very good, but I must admit it has some of the worst storytelling I've ever seen. There's just so many layers to the Phantom Menace. There's so much going on. Excuse me. So you got, Darth Bane thousands of years ago, and then the Jedi, they think he's dead. They think the Sith are gone. But then they come back in the Phantom Menace, and the Jedi are like, whoa, what's going on? And like, you know that like this is like mostly expanded universe stuff, but George Lucas is aware of this, and that like he's factoring it into the movie, because there are lines, which I was hinting at earlier, that do reference this sort of thing. Like one of Darth Maul's only, and in my opinion, a very iconic line is he's like, "At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have our revenge." And like after thousands of years of being in hiding, the Sith just come back, and it's just, it's great. The Phantom Menace is a great movie, but the issue is you have to read into these things, and you have to know that they exist, because they're not told to you in the movie, which is why I feel like it's terrible storytelling. You have to just know other things that aren't in the movie to enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like all those things considered, assuming you've read like 4 or 5 books and things, The Phantom Menace is a very good movie. It's and like with like Darth Plagueis, who is like actually alive, and like the whole tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise is actually happening during the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
But it's just not shown or anything.
And I mean, because knowing George Lucas, this was all already planned out. But if this was the sequels, they would have kind of half-assed figured it out later.
Made it up like a week into shooting.
They would have been like, Anakin's a Sith Lord? What? No, but Adam, I totally agree. Having these like multiple, but I feel like the whole point of the prequels is to be one big story that just they couldn't put in one film, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like
The way I
Oh, go ahead, Luke.
the way I look at the prequels is kind of just like one movie. So
Yeah, and that's I feel like how it should be though.
I mean, the Phantom Menace to me kind of felt like a bit of a pilot episode, if you know what I mean.
I think of Star Wars as one movie.
Yeah, you can. I mean, yeah, you could say
Debatable.
that too. It's just there's too much going on. Such a big plot, not complex, but like a little complex, but such a big plot that it can't just be put all into one movie. It's a story over like that spans multiple generations, and I mean, yeah, that's one thing I really love about Star Wars. It's just all tied together, except for the sequels, of course, in
The fan
such-
fiction.
in such a great way, I think.
I've never heard him considered that, but like actually like thinking about that for half a second, like does actually sound like fan fiction.
It is fan fiction. It's J.J. Abrams ruining another franchise. Jesus Christ.
It is what he's
Ryan
good at,
Johnson
man.
for The Last Jedi. Oh my god.
J.J. Abrams. I don't think J.J. Abrams ruined Star Trek
Sequels
though.
right now, but
No.
Ryan Johnson's the best thing to happen to the sequels. Like,
Maybe.
okay, we'll talk about it next week.
No, but I was thinking that.
I will probably actually also have a cameo in that episode.
Yes.
Hopefully.
All right, so now on to the next question. That's going to be cinematography. Who'd like to start?
So I feel like since I always speak on this as more of a camera person myself, I would like to say that the majority of the cinematography in this movie was very, very nice and very fulfilling. It didn't do anything crazy. There was some very cool scenes with virtual cameras and the stuff like space battles, stuff like the Battle of Coruscant. That was one amazing long take. I felt like that was just it was eye candy to me. There's a lot of eye candy, but I'm gonna actually ask our guests on it a little bit later. But I'm pretty sure this film was shot on digital this time, and it didn't really look film to me, and because they probably couldn't do it on film because there's so much VFX that it would be a real pain in the ass to shoot it with film. But if we're including the VFX and the cinematography, I feel like they should really be together. We already talked about it before, but it was very good for its time, and it immersed you into the Star Wars universe very well. Like Nick, what did you have to say on the camera work in this film?
Yeah, I mean, you've got some really, really stunning shots of like different planets. Like sometimes you get like the wide view of the planets, and then just pretty much really all the scenery, all the backdrops. It's really well created. Like I know like some of this stuff is like visual effects and like some of it's like shot on a camera, like Misha said.
Well, obviously, yeah.
But yeah, obviously this is like, I really think it's pretty well done.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like Interstellar, but like it's definitely got a good Star Wars vibe to it. Yeah.
So talking more about stuff that's eye candy. I know our guest really wants to talk about this. So Jonah, I just want to know what you have to say. You and Adam specifically have to say on how you thought the lightsaber duels were just eye candy to you.
Yeah.
What do you think on that one, Jonah? Okay, Jonah's not here right now.
All right, I'll begin. So this is really the only time in all of Star Wars where we get to see like full-on awesome lightsaber battles, because original trilogy, all the characters are either old or they're just like Luke Skywalker, who's like just beginning to train, and so like they're not like super like high paced like zooming around swords sort of thing. And the sequels are some of the worst lightsaber fights imaginable. Like
Yeah.
actually, like it's so pitiful. But
Can you actually elaborate on that one? Because I would actually have to disagree.
No, wait.
Okay, fine. But I want to talk about the prequels first. So
Yeah.
here, one of my favorite battles is the Battle of Geonosis, because it's the only time in the actual movies where we get to see like a full scale like
Jedi
army
assault.
of Jedi just going at it, and that's just like an absolute magical moment. As well as the Anakin Obi-Wan duel is just awesome.
Again,
And, like,
yeah.
I don't know like all the little facts because I'm not like super into fencing or whatever, but I've seen a lot of videos online, and there's like some really interesting like thematic stuff that goes into the lightsaber duels. Like they put a lot of thought into it. So here's just one little factoid I remember, but keep in mind there's a lot of different things like this. So like in the Anakin Obi-Wan duel, where they're like swinging the lightsabers and it's like going past, it's like they don't hit each other for a while. They're just like
Oh yeah, they're like
It's
flinging
called
them.
the Obiani, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, that's so stupid. Why is it like that?
It's because like even because the whole lightsaber duels in general were based off like Japanese like samurai fights, and so they're very precise and they're trying to gauge each other and they're swinging their lightsabers around because they're trying to find the best place to strike, because they also use the Force and stuff, obviously, because it's Star Wars. So they know what's gonna happen and where, roughly, because they have that intuition. And
Okay, but
like people don't understand that.
if I'll elaborate here, that's actually a really common fencing technique to kind of swing the sword / lightsaber around to like disorient the dueling partner. But where it gets interesting is that's really it's that technique's only really used in fencing to like when you're against a really close friend or someone you've dueled with a lot, and like you really know them well. It's just like there's a lot of things that are like deep like that. Like they really put a lot of effort into designing the lightsaber duels.
I would agree. I mean, obviously, like, George Lucas didn't anticipate lightsaber duels in the original trilogy to be these crazy, crazy things. Or maybe he did, and he just didn't know how to do them in those original trilogy. But it was really well done in the not the sequel, the prequels, and I just really enjoyed it. It's always so fun to just watch the lightsaber duels by themselves, and it's like I said before, it's eye candy, honestly.
Yeah, you could tell that there was so much being put into that. Like, I know it is like 20 years later than the original trilogy, but it's just a whole nother level. It just hits so much harder, to me at least, and I think to a lot of people.
Yeah. I was watching a video kind of on like the different lightsaber battles going on in different parts of the Star Wars universe, and like I thought one of the things this video said, it was like the original trilogy was more focused on like the emotional like aspects of like why they're having those fights, because it's like a father fighting his son, two old friends like or like two old friends, and now they're like enemies and they're all old and they get to like face off against each other. But like in the prequels we got to see like really well trained Jedi like and Sith like going at it in like the fullest of their abilities, and it's like really like some of the most amazing things to like see.
Yeah, and it's just so crazy because like the way I'm pretty sure they practiced for a long time when they were doing those, and it's just like choreographed so perfectly, and it's like it's really cool.
Yeah, they practiced for like months, and like yeah, if you see a video of them like they like people like the stunt people like doing it, it's crazy to watch it.
So, I think I might just do like a quick synopsis of, I'm gonna go with 3 main fights, or maybe 4. I'll see how long I take. So, Duel of the Fates, first of all, best soundtrack, all the ones. That's no brainer right there for me. but it also has one of the most genuine knows of like all of Star Wars. It's been kind of a meme that like Darth Vader's no at the end of Revenge of the Sith is kind of like, what is this? But Obi-Wan, when Qui-Gon gets stabbed at Darth Maul, it just seems very actually like genuine. Yeah, you get really hooked on it. It's really good. From Attack of the Clones, I would say the Yoda versus Count Dooku is the only fight that Yoda's ever been in. Lightsaber fight that we've ever seen. Actually, sorry, one of
Palpatine.
two.
Yeah.
Yes, and I just think that's a super memorable thing. At the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, you have Obi-Wan and Anakin versus Dooku, or just Anakin versus Dooku. They're both practically the same thing. And I feel like that's the turn to the dark side. I feel like that's just it. Like, when that happens, that's like what it is. Everything after that is him suppressing the dark side. But that's like
because he knows that it's like against the Jedi code, but he still does it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last one, which I'll spend probably more time on, and we've already done. Duel on Mustafar is.
Yeah.
There's just nothing wrong with it. It's perfect. When you think a Star Wars lightsaber fight, it's acrobatic.
You think of that one, yeah.
Yeah, it's what it is. It's just masterfully done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
one thing. Sorry, go on.
No, it's all my comments.
Yeah, so one thing that really pissed me off near the end of Revenge of the Sith was how the Yoda Palpatine duel scene was like spliced with the duel on Mustafar.
Yes.
Like, that was such an emotional scene, and like you're just cutting back to Yoda like hanging on to the ledge, and it's just like, no. I
Scene
feel like
splicing is probably the biggest negative part of Revenge of the Sith.
yeah.
I mean,
They should, yeah, because you want to see the whole battle just happening, and then you want to see the other battle just happening. But like,
I mean,
yeah.
you're
I don't
immersed in
think
a scene.
anything
and
wrong would happen if they just put it one before the other.
Scene
the scene
splicing in
splicing is
general,
definitely
like scene splicing in general. You're immersed in this scene and kind of get ripped away from, thrown into another world.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's probably some sort of like runtime issue. Maybe they had to like cut down on some time, but like it wasn't even.
Well,
Yeah.
Like, all I'm suggesting is that the scenes would be rearranged so that the Yoda Palpatine duel would be all continuous and the duel on Mustafar would be all continuous.
I agree. That would have been better.
Yeah, just
but-
rearrange it.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to move on to symbolism and themes.
Well, gosh, golly, there's a lot of.
Before we start a new category, I have like 20 minutes, so can we wrap this up?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll probably be done in 20
Be
minutes.
good. Yeah, I think so.
This is the last big question.
Yeah. So something I thought that obviously is more of an overarching thing. I don't really know if you guys could say this is. I feel it's more of a motif. I feel just like John Williams' themes for characters and stuff play a really big part in like explaining them emotionally through music. I just thought that John Williams always does a very good job at his music.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's just no, don't even start, Adam. I don't want to hear it.
Don't do it, Adam.
We don't have time. We don't have
do it.
time. No.
Okay.
But I feel like
Am I the only person that doesn't know what he's gonna do?
don't even nope. I don't want it.
Don't say
Go to the
that.
Interstellar episode and you'll find it. No, but really, another thing that I found that was very interesting in my opinion was just themes of brotherhood and friendship, and I just want you guys to elaborate on that and what you guys think about the brotherhood and friendship of certain characters.
Yeah, so I feel like Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan, they really have that, a sort of brotherhood relationship, and then Qui-Gon dies, and that's passed on.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, we've only mentioned it like 5 times. but that's passed on through like Obi-Wan and Anakin, and it really just highlights the Padawan master relationship, and I like that a lot.
And then they also like emphasize like, oh, the rule of two for the Sith. There can only be two. I mean,
Yes, which
like
Two there always are.
It's a theme because like they probably like don't like each other because one probably ends up killing the other. But yeah, I really like what you said there, cousin or Adam. Yeah, we're cousins.
yeah. A theme that I would like to talk about is just like, or it's not like, yeah, I guess it qualifies as a theme. Is like, the prophecy, the chosen one. It was interesting. I feel like they didn't explain that well. They're kind of like, oh yeah, there's a prophecy. Who made this prophecy? When was it made? Why was it made? Like that was just kind of thrown in there. And I mean, it's just an overused trope. Like I feel like it would have had the same effect or even a better effect if they were like, if everyone was like, oh yeah, look how strong he is. Look at all the midichlorians he has. Like, wow, I bet he's gonna destroy the Sith. Not like, oh yeah, there's like some prophecy, chosen one. Yeah, like
I guess it's
they
like
could have dealt with that better.
They tried to like explain like his great shift, I guess, like to the dark side maybe. Like he's so powerful. He's supposed to like bring balance to the Force, but like he left it in darkness. Yeah, a little Star Wars quote there. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about a bunch of different little mini things all day, but like, it's like it's a bit like a small thing. It's if you really look into it, like if you really get into it, like kind of what we're doing right now, I guess we can have a problem with it. But like for most people who aren't like huge, like really in-depth like Star Wars people, like then we'd have a problem. But like if you're not, then it's not too big of a deal.
Yeah, I feel like
yeah, I see that.
I feel like with the themes that we've discussed, it just really makes the originals more impactful. It just makes the relationships between characters just make more sense and just be better. And I feel like this kind of like planning, this connection, this is why, well, besides having a terrible plot, this is why the sequels failed. It's because the episodes 1 through 6 are like a sphere. They're like perfect. They're perfectly round. Perfectly formed.
They're still well like connected.
Yeah, it all ties together. But the sequels are kind of just like an extra, like flop.
They don't actually fit in.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, it's just a really like ugly line coming off of a circle. Like not a straight line, not a cool curvy line, just a really kind of ugly line. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like they don't connect at all. It's like an unnecessary. Just it's they're just made for money. The love and care that was put into expanding the Star Wars universe with the prequels is not there for the sequels.
George Lucas is like, I have a script. Disney's like, script?
Exactly.
What script?
And Disney's like, nope. Yeah.
And like I mean, I know we're not talking about the sequels right now, but like from what has been said about the original sequel script, like that was like awesome. Like it just sounds so cool, and I need it in my life.
If only it happened.
Yeah.
All right. Adam, let's move it on.
All right, so this one is going to be interesting. So there are a lot of people who just hate the sequels, and these are mostly just hardcore fans of the original trilogy, because the prequels were. Oh, and I even wrote sequel in the
question list.
But I meant to say prequels. So, like, these movies are so different in tone and in like just overall just context. Like the Star Wars universe is very, very different in the prequels than it is in the sequels. And so, do you think these prequel haters are justified?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, yeah, because like in reality, you're allowed to dislike whatever you want, but
Yeah, you can have your opinion.
Actually,
yeah.
no, I take that back. You're allowed to hate what you want, but you can't just hate on it because it's not what the originals was.
Yeah.
It's different, but it's still telling a story that's related to it. It's not horrible. It's just something that you're not used to. People are afraid of change. That's why people don't like the prequels.
You can't hate on those movies just because you have nostalgia and it's just different than the originals. Like that's not fair. Yeah.
But I do think that in a way they are justified because it is different. I don't like the Star Wars universe went through big change. The Empire took over between the two trilogies, so I feel like it should be different. And I am able to appreciate these movies, but at a certain level, I do sympathize whatever with the prequel haters because it is different. But I think that overall, whether you're gonna like the prequels or not is entirely up to you.
Yeah.
Because
For sure. Yeah.
you could embrace this, or you could just not be with it, and that's fine. But
I mean, but if you like the sequels,
then we have a problem.
that's a whole different matter. Yeah.
You can't just like
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I think a lot of the quote unquote haters for the prequels were kind of people who were teenagers when the first like our parents, for example, they were like what like 10, 15 when these original trilogies came out, and I mean,
How young are your parents?
there has
Original
to-
trilogy. Sorry.
Original
Yeah.
trilogy.
I was like, wait.
You have some young parents.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but there's obviously going to be a whole lot of nostalgia going on. And I mean, my parents, for example, they've never really given the prequels a chance. And I mean, I'm pretty sure if they approached it with more of people in general approach it with more of an open mind, I think a lot more people would really get to see the true greatness of the prequels. But obviously, you sometimes just can't beat the originals. But I think I don't know. I can respect people who I don't see a reason for hate on the prequels, but that's just my opinion.
Okay.
I can understand though that they're definitely not the same movie. It's definitely doesn't have quite the same feel.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's okay.
But I think that regardless of if you like the originals or the prequels or the sequels, we can all agree that Dune is just on a higher plane of existence.
Oh
I've
my
not seen that, so I can't make an opinion
I've
on it.
not seen Dune either.
I've
not
also
gonna
never
say
seen
anymore.
Dune.
And all right,
Guys, coming in 3 weeks, Dune movie review. Make sure you like, subscribe, and notifications.
yeah,
Hit that bell.
we'll do a review on all 4 of the times that Dune has been adapted or has been tried to have been adapted.
4 movies? Wait, I like Star Wars. Never mind.
All right, so now let's we're cutting close on time, so let's just skip to the question: how has Star Wars influenced your life? I'll start on this one.
Yeah.
So my dad, he's a huge Star Wars fan. He loves the originals and the prequels. He was old enough to see the originals in theaters when he was like younger, and he still enjoyed the prequels, which is great. But more or less, I was raised on Star Wars. I watched the movies. I watched the Clone Wars when it was first coming out. I read some books, I played video games, and Star Wars has just been a huge part of my life. So I felt like we should just have this question in here just to, talk about it. But the first 6 Star Wars movies, the only 6 Star Wars movies, will always.
Okay, that joke's been beaten to death a little bit.
No,
Not a joke.
it's not a joke. I just don't consider the sequels just aren't Star Wars. That's not like I'm not going to talk about this right now, but like
Yeah.
there is only 6 Star Wars movies. Like no joke.
Make
Like,
sure you subscribe and hit the bell to listen to us discuss why the sequels aren't real movies on the next movie review.
yeah. But
Quote unquote movie review.
yeah, but
Yeah.
the point is that I have so much overwhelming nostalgia for these movies that I'm gonna have a huge bias when it comes to rating time. But yeah, who else would like to go?
Ooh, I think or yeah, Misha, you can go.
For me at least, I don't feel like Star Wars has massively affected my life. I mean, like, obviously I was raised on Star Wars too. It was a big part of my cousin who was on previously, and he really likes Star Wars a lot, and I got a lot of the Star Wars Lego stuff. I had a lot of the games, and it was just like, it just made me very immersed and made me really appreciate what George Lucas had built. It didn't like pull me out of a dark time or anything like that, because I was never in one of those. But Star Wars, if I feel like I'm feeling down, I will watch Star Wars, because it just makes me happy to watch those films. That goes for all of them, except for I would say those that shall not be named. Nick, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars has been really big part of my life. I mean, I dressed up as Darth Vader for like 3 consecutive years for Halloween. It was pretty great.
David Prost,
And
who best physical performance
Goes
by
to
Nick King. Wait,
Yeah.
do they know last names?
yeah, and I always wanted like to get like the Death Star, or like I think they did like an Ewok Village like Star Wars Lego set. Like
Death Star.
I really wanted that as a kid, and it's like, because those movies were so good, there's like so much stuff like to do with the Star Wars universe, and I just like loved like everything with it. And it's like, I'm definitely gonna be biased for the ratings, kind of like Adam.
Yeah.
But yeah, what about you or Luke or like Jonah?
I mean, Star Wars, I mean, it's never really been a huge part of my life because, I don't know, a lot of my family, I mean, we all love Star Wars, but it's not like hardcore fan type thing. It's more of just a deep respect for the movies. And I mean, when I first saw Star Wars, I mean, I was probably like, I don't know, 8 or something, 8 or 9, whatever. And back then I really only loved Star Wars because epic visuals, which they are, and I mean, sword fights. I mean, not sword fights. What am I saying? Lightsaber fights. But now you really get to. Watching these prequels, I really started to appreciate the actual story behind Star Wars, and I think that really kind of shined through in the prequels. I really loved the story, seeing Anakin develop, and yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say on this.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Adam, take it to the last one, my dude.
All right, that's going to be the final rating. So Jonah, what we do here is a 0 to 10 scale, but
Wait, I don't think Jonah spoke on this question yet.
Oh yeah, Jonah, you did it.
Yeah, Jonah.
My connection with Star Wars is very similar to that of Adam's and Misha's, where you just involve
me.
with everything.
And me.
I forget.
Yours was slightly different.
No, I think it's Misha's that was slightly different.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Jonah, continue what you were saying.
Just go.
The general ideas are all the same. Star Wars Legos have always been a big thing as well. The games, the movies. It's more of a culture.
What about action figures?
I've never gotten into action figures.
I have like a funny General Grievous like toy down in my basement, like from the Clone Wars general version of General Grievous, and he's just so funny to me. I actually have a cool Phase 1 Clone Trooper helmet. It's nothing crazy.
Oh, nice.
It's like a toy one. It's not like a model. It's not like a.
I have a lightsaber too. It's not like one of those cool fancy ones, but I still like it.
Yeah, I kind of want to get a
If we're going into Star Wars memorabilia, I have a 3D printer at home for those watching, and it's about probably 95% of the stuff that I print is Star Wars related stuff.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
My pride and joy print was a 22-hour Darth Vader bust after he fought Ahsoka in Rebels with like the eye cut open.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Was that one piece? Was that one piece, Jonah?
Nah.
Yeah, one piece, 22 hours.
Really?
I want to print that. I want to print
it's
that.
so awesome.
Is it on Thingiverse?
Yeah, I think. Or I might have got it from my mini.
Did you paint it?
It's all black, like shiny with a clear coat.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if we're really getting into this, I have a 2-foot tall Darth Maul statue sitting on my desk.
Nice. That's cool.
I printed a 2-foot tall Darth Maul statue.
No, but okay. Now I feel like we're getting a little off topic with all our Star Wars memorabilia, and I know Jonah, we're running a little
If we're
low
cutting
on
this
time.
part out, I would just like to say a creeper
No, we're
just grew up our
not.
Animal Farm.
Oh no,
Well,
not
we're
leaving that
cutting
in.
it out, Jonah.
Okay.
We're leaving that in, Jonah.
It's beautiful. But I know, Jonah, you're running a little short on time, so Adam, why don't you lead us into the last one for real this time?
All right. So now we're gonna go into the final rating. Here we do 0 to 10, but there's also 0.5s if you so choose. What I'd like to do is do a individual rating for each of the movies and then a full rating for the trilogy.
Good
I'll go
idea.
first. So first, Phantom Menace. That's gonna be okay. So again, my nostalgia is gonna influence this a lot, but the Phantom Menace, I'm gonna have to say 8.5 with nostalgia, probably like a 7 without. Attack of the Clones, probably a 7 without and like an 8 with. Revenge of the Sith, I'd say a 9.5. No, it's you know what, screw it. All these movies are a 10 with nostalgia, but Revenge of the Sith is it's gonna be a 9 without nostalgia, and then in total with this trilogy, I'd have to say
20 out of 10.
20 out of 10. Probably.
No, but what did you actually think, Adam? What was your full rating?
Adam?
Adam?
He's on mute. What will he ever do?
Oh.
He's on mute.
What's his full-on rating? So suspenseful.
It's so suspenseful, guys. Let's get a drum roll for Adam.
Ooh.
We have to keep doing it until he gets off mute. Oh, I don't want to cut this out. This is beautiful.
Yeah, this is great.
Guys, a video of a bunch of guys saying humna humna has like 100 million views on YouTube. So humna. Imagine if somebody put this on to like fall asleep. We'll come back to Adam's final rating.
Yeah, we'll come back to Adam. So
Yeah.
Jonah, what did you think? What was your per movie? I don't really want you to do with nostalgia, without nostalgia. Just give me your rating per movie and your rating total.
Phantom Menace, 6.5
Ooh.
out of 10.
Yep.
Little harsh. Like I said, character development isn't quite there. Pod racing and Duel of the Fates are the best things, but those are at like the ends of the movies,
Yep.
so it's not. Yeah, I think that's solid. Attack of the Clones, my least favorite of the three. It might
Mhm.
be a little controversial. I'll give it a 6.
Okay.
And Revenge of the Sith, greatest movie of all time. That's an easy, and I mean easy, 9.5 out of 10.
Nice.
Lost half a point for scene splicing during the lightsaber duels, and
Oh, no.
my final tally is a fair but quite good 8.5 out of 10 for the
Whole trilogy.
Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Prequel.
Prequel.
Did I just
Not
say
sequel,
sequel?
not
You
sequel.
literally just
Sequels
said
have
sequel.
a 3 out of 10. Prequels have a 8.5.
Yeah.
Okay, Luke, what did you think?
Yeah.
Oh wait, Adam, you have to give your final rating.
Yeah,
Your
Adam.
total
So-
final rating.
For the trilogy as a whole, I'd have to give it, with nostalgia, obviously a 10, but
Mhm.
without, I'd say 8.5.
Wow, that was odd. That was exactly
Jonah
what Jonah
said the
did.
same thing. Yeah.
All right, Luke, what did you think?
Luke.
So Phantom Menace, I'm gonna have to go with a 6.5 out of 10. I'll go with the same as
Alright,
Jonah.
that's it, that's enough.
Jonah said the same thing.
Jonah said 6.
Jonah said
No,
6.
no, I
But,
said
Oh, no,
six
you
for,
said that for.
Guys,
yeah.
you don't have to argue about
By the-
it's
by
it's
the way,
your
by the
own
way,
score.
by the
Don't
way,
Yeah,
argue.
way.
it's all our opinions. All opinions
Luke,
are welcome.
6.5
Misha,
is
Misha, this is the
6.5 is
internet.
still.
Opinions don't exist.
Everyone's
By
soft.
the way,
Opinions do exist.
Okay, Luke,
guys.
Luke, continue.
Oh
Everyone,
my
let
gosh.
Luke continue.
6.5 is still a pretty good rating.
Yeah, it is.
I just obviously character development was not the greatest. I mean, not the worst either, but there was also a little bit of forced dialogue, I thought, in the Phantom Menace. But overall, those are really the only two things. And I don't think they ruined the movie, but they were kind of big things that just weren't really there for me. But yeah, moving on, Attack of the Clones. I enjoyed Attack of the Clones. I think I'd give it about 8 out of 10. There's not too much that I can really hate on for Attack of the Clones. And then Revenge of the Sith, I'm gonna have to go with a 9 out of 10. Solid 9 out of 10. Really well done. Visuals, dialogue, it kind of bridged the gap between, bridged the plot gap, I guess, and knowing that this was made well after the original trilogy, it obviously wasn't an easy thing to do to kind of bridge that gap, but I think it was done pretty much perfectly. So yeah, I'd say my final rating for the prequel Star Wars trilogy is an 8.5 out of. Actually, I'll go with an
Very
8 out of 10.
original, very original. Boo!
I'll go with an 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10.
All right.
Yeah, I
Alright.
really enjoyed the
Lower.
prequel.
Boo!
All right, Nick. Okay, guys, no more hate here. But
Okay,
Nick, what did
okay.
you think?
Yeah. If I were to go kind of like with Adam, if I was supposed to go with like nostalgia wise, everything would be a 10. Amazing. But I'm supposed to judge this with true movie criticness. So Phantom Menace for me, I think it was the not like the least good one. I mean, it's still a great movie, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I'd give it around like I'd probably say like a 7-ish. Because I mean, like kind of what everybody's been saying, like there wasn't much in terms of like character development or stuff like that. So 7. And then Attack of the Clones, I did enjoy more. We got to see lots more lightsaber stuff, introduce the clones, that kind of stuff. I really enjoyed that kind of part. So I'm gonna give that like I'd say a solid 8. Yeah. And then definitely I'd say my favorite Star Wars movie, Revenge of the Sith, I think I'm gonna give that like a 9 or a 9.5. So I'm gonna say 9, just because 9.5 is like pretty much perfect, and there's a bunch of like the dialogue stuff and like the splicing thing that Jonah was talking about earlier. So I'm gonna say 9, and then for all three all summed up in a perfect little package, I'd give it a 9, just because I know that's probably my nostalgia talking, but I want to give it a 9.
All right.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
Star Wars is
So what
great.
about you, Misha?
Okay, well, I'm just gonna say the numbers because pretty much my explanation is gonna be the same as all of your stuff. Phantom Menace for me is a 7 out of 10. Attack of the Clones to me is a 5.5 out of 10 because that one was the most cringy out of all of them. It's kind of a pain in the butt to watch. It's still a good movie, but it's
I
a
don't
pain in
like
the
sand.
Yeah, I don't like sand. And then I'm gonna
What do you
say
mean
Revenge
that's
of the
a
Sith.
legendary line?
Revenge of the Sith for me, 9.5 out of 10. Because I understand that there's a little bit of inconsistencies in lightsaber fights, but that's not what the 10 out of 10 is on our scale. 10 out of 10 is not like unachievable, because we've said 10 out of 10 for things. And so that's gonna lead me to my total thing.
I guess which movie?
Uh, no, maybe
Yes,
Interstellar.
sir.
Yeah, probably.
For me, at least.
No, but so for my total trilogy rating, I'm gonna give it a 8 out of 10 because I understand that Revenge of the Sith really hard carries that entire trilogy, but the other movies are still good and they're still watchable and they're still understandable. So that's its saving grace in my opinion. So, guys, that leads us to the end, which has been about an hour and 40 minutes. This is also getting a very long episode, but
I mean, it's Star Wars.
it is.
You know?
This is 3 movies in one. But if you guys couldn't tell, we watched the Star Wars Prequel Trilogy together with our guest Jonah. Thank you so much for coming on, Jonah. It was really good to hear what you had to say about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great. So we're all gonna say our lovely good nights, and we will see you next week with arguably the greatest Star Wars trilogy of them all. The sequels. I'm just kidding, it isn't. So I'm gonna say good night, and everyone's gonna say right now.
SchoolNet.org.
Yep. Okay, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Good night,
See ya.
babe.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Yeah, see you next week.